All right, folks, thank you very much for joining us for this live webinar. And hopefully, when you finish with us, you will see magic and feel empowered. We are, of course, talking about vibe coding, something that you may already have come across. But if you haven't, this is all you need to see, and you will be a full believer. So, there's something happening in the enterprise world. It's called vibe coding, and it started really with full force about a year ago when somebody actually coined a term or a maxim that English is the new programming language. And this is exactly what you will see today. Vibe coding is a tool that empowers non technical business people like yourselves, like myself, who are not coders, to actually build software. And that's the magic. This is something that a lot of us have wanted to do, to build actual software, because I think at work we are constantly working with software, with applications, with things. It's almost impossible to imagine work without software. So we know the power of software. Somebody even said that software will eat the world. However, the problem has been that it's been difficult for you or for anyone to first code, because if you want an application done and you don't know how to code, what do you do in the company today? Well, you need to go and approach your IT. Our friends in IT have budgets to work with. They have queues, they have checklists. They need to know what you want. They may need to go to an external vendor. Um, Several months can go before the right application is probably put out. I think the average waiting time for a business user to get a response from IT, a meaningful response, is close to 6 months. That was in the past, and it's all going to change. And that's the revolution we're talking about. In other words, you will be able to build a fairly good functional app in less time than it takes to even ask for an app. That's what we will demonstrate today. Of course, it sounds too good to be true, and there is always a but. There are some things to look at. Firstly, how do you actually build the app? What's the strategy? What's the plan? What does the tool do? So that's something that obviously you will learn today. That's the good news. We will essentially teach you today in less than 1 hour how to build a fully functioning app. But there is some other news which is not so good. And we will take that up after the demo so that you've learned the tool, and then we'll talk a little bit about how to take it to the next level. That's the bit that we will do after the demo. So what we have today is a problem that everyone is familiar with, in the finance department at least, and they probably all have ideas for improvement. That's the demo. I am Omar Masroor. I am leading GCC business development for this company, Folio3, and I will be your host for a series of webinars that we will be doing on vibe coding and other things. And assisting me today is my colleague, Kidwani. Kidwani, please introduce yourself.
السلام عليكم. أنا اسمي عمر كدواني. أنا موجود معاكم لو أي حد محتاج يسأل على أي حاجة بالعربي، أنا موجود معاكم في أي وقت.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And before I hand us over to our expert, who I'll introduce in just one moment, what we will do is the following. We will go through the demo. I'm sure you will have questions. We will park them for until after the demo. So if you could simply type those questions in the chat box, and we'll collect those, and hopefully we'll have enough time to go through those after the demo. So please use the chat window to put down any thoughts, questions, comments you may have, and we'll get to those. So now, without further ado, let me introduce to you our expert, Mahmoud Merchant, who is a finance professional, a global CFO, who will take us through the app that he vibe coded himself, and he's not a coder. Mahmoud?
Thank you, Omar. Can you all hear me clearly? I think my audio is good. Right. Thank you for the intro. Can you move to the next slide, please? So the problem we're going to tackle, as Umar mentioned as well, is the collections problem, right? And it's a common problem that finance managers and CFOs face today. So it's easy enough to make sales. Obviously, your salespeople may disagree, but from a finance perspective, it seems pretty easy that people make sales, they promise the world, and they get they get the work done. And then you have the task to collect cash from those customers, which can be a challenge, right? Depending on the customer, depending on your relationship with them, depending on the history with them, and the inherent risk and what they may be going through in terms of their own cash flow challenges. So it is a challenge. It is something that I have found that ERP systems are not easily able to deal with. And it is something that then leads one to have and kind of a solution which usually sits in spreadsheets, right? It is something that people then have to come out to, they have to write their own kind of custom emails. They have to track what responses have come through. And all of these things are usually happening in spreadsheets and so on. And it's a bit of a nightmare. So taking that as a challenge, I taking that as a challenge. Sorry, you can hear me, right, Omar? Okay.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, we
hear you.
can. Yes, yes.
Right. Perfect. Okay. So taking that as a challenge for this particular mode of creating an app ourselves, I kind of decided to create an app. I've used a couple of other tools. You may have watched another webinar that I did using a different tool, but it is such a common pain point that it was worth trying to build that with the tool that we're going to be working with. And the tool uses a kind of new technology, if you like, or new methodology called vibe coding, which Omar has already talked about in brief. And he's absolutely right. English has become the new programming language, right? And that's absolutely amazing because who knows what they need? It's people who like us, right? We know exactly what the pain point is. We know exactly what the solution is. We try and craft it through Excel sheets. We try and kind of create our own solutions, right? We use macros if we are a little bit techie.
Mahmoud, I think we lost you there.
Okay, I'm back. Right.
Yep,
So
yep.
apologies for that, a bit of a glitch on the net side. So basically, English is a new programming language in that sense. We know what we need. If we can instruct a tool such as Replit, the one we're going to use, or one of several other ones, it can build what we ask it to do. We just need to know what we actually want, right? We have to be able to enunciate and give our requirements clearly. That is really what is required. So what is the benefit to finance teams? Again, Omar kind of alluded to it earlier. We don't have to wait for IT teams, right, for permission. We can create something ourselves, at least with a small tool within, a small team. When it comes to integration with enterprise systems, that's another story, and we're going to talk about that later on. But in terms of being, enabled to create something, even a prototype, even something that we can then demonstrate to our colleagues to say, hey, this is the kind of application that would solve my pain point. To be able to even come up with that kind of a mini, MVP, if you like, or minimum viable product, something that's like a demo, is very valuable, right? Because even in terms of explaining requirements to your IT colleagues or external consultants, usually, there's stuff lost in translation. You explain that you want something, but then you get something else. And then you have to kind of, make changes or again, go back to spreadsheets. So vibe coding, it solves a lot of those pain points. Now, the tool we're going to be using today is called Replit. Replit is one of several tools, but I think it is fair to say it is the leader. It is a tool that you guys may have heard of. There's a lot of chatter on LinkedIn as well, and other kind of places. There's a lot of advertising going on by Replit, especially in the Middle East. So Replit, the CEO is of Arab origin. They have, as an organization, they have undertook a lot of partnerships with Microsoft, with Humane, which is the AI outfit in the Middle East, in Saudi Arabia. So they are very region friendly as well, right? And the app we're going to build will actually demonstrate that as well. We'll build a bilingual app. So Replit is an excellent tool. It is one of several, but it is a go-to tool for us as well. And what it does is it converts our natural language, which can be in Arabic as well. So we have been experimenting. I think Omar Kidwani will also perhaps talk about it later, some experimentation, in terms of prompting in Arabic. But for this demo, obviously we will keep it to English, but it is possible. And even if it's not perfect, I think Replit is definitely making strides in terms of supporting Arabic as a language through which you prompt, which is another very useful thing for all of you to be aware of. It uses state-of-the-art AI models. There are lots of like new versions of OpenAI and Gemini which come out, so you don't have to worry about which is what. Replit you can trust to be using the latest models, and it's going to build all the necessary databases and login and all the complex kind of technology things. It's going to build all of it to a certain extent. So that's the tool we're going to be using. Next slide, please. Okay, so just to summarize, so what we're going to be building today is an application. It will be limited because this is a limited demos, but we will try even in our limited application to create the functionality for tracking outstanding invoices, right? An aging dashboard, and in particular, what we will do is not only will we use AI to create the application, because Replit and such white coding tools are a product of the advancements in AI. But we will also, within the application, use AI to generate those emails. Because remember, one of the pain points was writing all these emails. We'll try and create a functionality that lets you generate English emails and Arabic emails, depending on what your customers are comfortable with, right? In different tones. So maybe a very sharp email if it's a very late customer, maybe a very polite reminder if it's just a regular kind of follow-up, different kind of tones depending on different risks. So this is what we're going to be building as part of the project. Okay, so let's get started. I will share my screen and I will first of all show you what the tool looks like. All right, is my screen share visible? Omar, looks
Yes,
good?
it's visible. Yes.
Okay, excellent. All right, so this is what the tool looks like, right? And literally, Replit has built it in a way where you can go here, where I'm kind of moving my cursor, where it says describe your idea, right? This is literally where you would type in plain English what you need, and this is a perfectly valid approach to take. But we have found that there is a slightly better approach, and I will take you through that. But this is also a good enough way if somebody wants to really dive in, they can just start typing, I need this, and then hit this button, and they will start to get some output coming out from Replit. And you will start to see that magic that Omar also talked about earlier. But to do it methodically, especially if you know what you need, right? If you don't know what you need, if you're just experimenting, then this is fine. This approach is fine. Just type something in here and just see where it goes. But for the purpose of what we are looking for, we have a pretty specific idea what we need. And the approach that I would recommend is going to ChatGPT first. Okay. And then in ChatGPT, you can type in a prompt, which basically is going to ask ChatGPT to create a longer prompt, what is often called a super prompt or a meta prompt, something more detailed, which is optimized for Replit, which is where you're going to take it, and then you copy and paste that longer prompt and take it to Replit, right? So this seems a little bit indirect, but this is usually a more effective way. So I will actually do it right now, and let's see how it goes. So the first thing we do is we give it a role. So we say act as an expert in software development and UI and UX, which is user interface and user experience, right? So if you say that, and then you say that create a product requirements document for multilingual English and Arabic application, or let me call it web application to make it more precise, web app, which is mobile responsive as well. Okay. So the first sentence is giving it a role. So that kind of, fine tunes the brain of ChatGPT to be thinking about the topic that comes next. And that's, a power tip on its own, because even for anything else you guys do, giving it a role before asking the next question gives a much better response from ChatGPT or any other LLM. Okay. And then we tell it what we need. And now we're going to tell it, like, exactly the details of the project that we wanted to build out, a PRD for, or project requirements document for. What I will also add here, okay, it will be built in Replit. Okay, so that is also usually a good idea. You can just add that as well, so that ChatGPT does know. And I'm just going to make it even more clear: wipe coding tool, so that it knows that it needs to give a prompt which is optimized for the tool that we are going to be using. Then we get into the actual, nitty gritty of what we want to build. So I want an accounts receivable application, okay, that shows customer dashboard, amounts owed by aging buckets, so 0 to 30, 30 to 60, and so on, DSO, and other APIs, risk level. Okay. And I want a feature that allows me to draft AI generated emails to follow up with my customers. The emails should support both Arabic and English, and should be customized based on the risk level of the customer and the age of the debt. Okay. So the older it is, the more you're going to be kind of more curt and sharp with them, and so on. Okay, so that's kind of what I want to put in here as a requirement. And literally, I'm just literally typing things as they come to my mind. How you express yourself, even for such a project, you will use your own words, and there's no magic formula here, right? ChatGPT will understand what you mean. You just need to be very clear about what you're looking for, and then you just hit enter. Okay, so it is now going to create product requirements document. And as you can start to see, we'll just scroll down as it's building this particular super prompt. Okay, it summarizes it, it gives objectives. I didn't talk about who's going to use it, but based on its own intelligence, ChatGPT is starting to come out with the target audience. It talks about login. I didn't talk about any of that. I just talked about English and Arabic. So now it talks about RTL support, which is right to left language support. It brings in some technical jargon, which, myself as a finance person, I need not understand. Doesn't really matter. As long as it's going to be understood by Replit, that's the important thing. And then, based on my very high level requirements, it is coming up with very specific dictates that, okay, the dashboard should look like this, and these are all the things which should be there. We'll come back to this prompt in a moment. What we will do is we just get the process started within Replit. So I'm just going to see if all of it is done. Yes. Okay. So I will just ignore the delivery plan because we're going to be doing everything right now. I just go up here and all the way to the top. So I'm literally copying and pasting, right? So up to here. And I just copy the text from ChatGPT, what it has given me, and I go back in Replit. I come in here and I paste it. Okay, when I paste it, it actually creates a little box here, but this box is considered like a text file that has that prompt in it. However, there's one other thing, right? You may be wondering, okay, once I build this application, then how do I put my data in there? And that's usually an afterthought, right? That's usually once you build the application, then you think about it. But it's a really good idea to think about it upfront. So what we're going to be doing is we will attach a CSV file, which I have. Okay. So it's called customer template.csv, and I will actually now add an additional instruction. So remember, all the instructions are in here that I pasted. I will now add an additional instruction, which will say, please also build the ability to import customer data that is reflected in the attached CSV file. Okay, I will be importing this same file later and expect it to work. I mean, this is pretty unnecessary, but you can just put it, you can just like you're speaking to an intelligent being, right? So you just literally speak your mind, and that's what I felt like writing, just to reiterate and just to emphasize my point here, right? So once I've done that, now I have the requirements and I have the CSV template. I will start the chat. So start chat, even though it sounds like chatting, but it's actually saying, okay, start the process of building this thing out. And it will give us some options, and I will tell you what those options are as they come up. And then we will go back to the ChatGPT prompt to take a closer look, but we will just get this process going. So the first thing it does is starts to create a little plan, right? It says, I'll analyze your requirements and create a comprehensive plan. So that's the first thing that Replit will do. And because we have asked for AI email generation, which means it's a feature within the application, it asks for this permission upfront, right? So add OpenAI integration to your Replit services, and basically you will say yes, because without it, that feature will not work. And it's going to be, Replit comes kind of built in with this capability. So you don't have to go and sign up to OpenAI separately or anything like that. You will literally just give that, give that ability, that permission right away, and it will create your plan. Okay. So you will see that the plan starts to take shape here. The plan is built on what we initially gave to ChatGPT in terms of our instructions, and then how ChatGPT actually expanded on it. So user authentication, full bilingual support, CSV import, because I added that as well, right? Customer dashboard with total outstanding, all the kind of buckets and everything. So everything that we asked, you can see that getting reflected here. Customer detail pages, AI-powered email generator, right? This is important. This is kind of the key thing that we really are looking for: friendly, firm, urgent. So everything that I wanted, I think, is here. Mobile responsive design. If something was missing, or if you had an afterthought, you could click on change plan and change it, right? But we are good to go. Now it gives us two paths here. So Replit says you want to build the entire app using its agentic capabilities, which I will talk about, in a few minutes as well. Or you want to start with the design. We will start with a design because that seems to be the most optimal way. However, this also will work nicely, and you can click on this button, go away and have lunch and come back, and it would have built your application. But you take a bit of a risk that what you will then see you may not like, or you may find that it hasn't understood your requirements, or you would have wanted to tweak it. So it is usually a really good idea to start with the design. So you're actually seeing all the steps as they come through. The other kind of thing to do here is that Replit defaults on this setting for its autonomy agent, and we suggest going low, at least in the beginning, right? As you get used to the tool, we suggest start with low and keep app testing off as well. We will be testing the app, but I'll show you how we actually do it. But this is the way to do the settings, and then we start designing. So we chose and start with the design, and we go, right? And now it is going to start building the components of the design. and it will take a few minutes while it does it. So we'll just go back to the prompt so I can just point out certain other things. So the key features came out here, right, which are going to be built. And by doing that, you will actually know while it's building, you will know what you can expect to see, right? So you can compare what Replit gives you against what you were actually asking, and then even fine tune things later. So the important thing to understand is that it is not that you cannot change anything later. You can change a lot of things later. Even after it's built out the application, you can add another feature afterwards as well. Right? So it is not like you need 100% clarity, but the more clear you are upfront, the better the chances of coming up with an acceptable application that is meeting your objectives. So in that sense as well, this will then tell you what are the things you can expect to see. Okay, language is auto user selected, the logic is there, the output is going to be like that. Okay, analytics, KPI dashboard, DSO is calculated, it shows the trend, overdue percentage will be shown. We should expect to see a pie chart, monthly aging movement, top 10 list of customers in terms of overdue dates. Okay, so and lots of nice filtering options. Note that none of these were asked in my initial prompt, right? For these all that came out intelligently through ChatGPT, which is the reason why it's worth going through that route. Then in terms of even settings and admin, right? We never even thought about that. Set risk scoring rules. Great. I mean, that should be very interesting, right? So those things are also going to get built. We talked about import, but exporting data to CSV, that's a very reasonable thing to have as well. And we should be seeing that feature built in because again, ChatGPT came out with those requirements on top of our baseline requirements. Then it gives some technical stuff, like you don't have to worry about it. But because it is Replit, it kind of optimizes instructions for Replit. Okay, so this is how it is building out the application. Okay, AI generation rules.
A question has just popped up about what could be some of the common mistakes when you are typing this prompt in ChatGPT.
Right. So I suppose one of the common mistakes is to not think through what you need, and just put in kind of the first sentence and hit enter. Right. So what you will then get is something which is partial, something which is so even if ChatGPT expands upon it, it is expanding upon a very partial kind of idea. Right. It's not reflecting the whole idea. And what you will see it will do, as we were also seeing here as I was scrolling through is that it fills in, right? So it intelligently fills in gaps. So if the gaps are stuff that you wanted them filled in, then that's great. Oops, okay. Let me just refresh this. We'll just go back here. But if those gaps if you were not thinking of those particular aspects of your build, then it is important, right, for you to have thought of them earlier. Otherwise, it will be a lot of back and forth. So with vibe coding, there is back and forth. That's kind of by design. It's going to build something, and we will see that, right? We've said start designing, and it's going to build something. And Omar, you can see my screen, right? Replit is visible clearly. Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
Right. So it will show what it builds, and then we can tweak it. We can fix bugs. We can add new requirements. We can do all those things. But the less you do within Replit and the more you do within ChatGPT in terms of getting your requirements sorted out, the better it is. So I think one of the common mistakes, if you like, is where people don't do that and they start working into a vibe coding tool too early when they're actually not totally clear about what they're trying to solve. So that's one of the things that tends to happen.
Okay, so I think everyone saw that the ChatGPT prompt was very extensive and comprehensive. So if you were to go directly into Replit, you would have to have something like that. And that's not easy. Therefore, ChatGPT is a good tool to create that prompt. Mahmoud, people may want to know, is OpenAI access essential for use of Replit?
No, not really. So obviously AI is being used all the time. It is an AI-enabled tool behind the scenes. But the OpenAI enablement question that came up right in the beginning was because we asked for a feature within the application that will use OpenAI. So the AI generation of emails is using OpenAI. We could have asked for another LLM. We could have said, can you use Gemini 3 to generate those emails?
Mm.
And that would have worked as well. But then it would have asked a similar question to get permission for using Gemini on the backend.
Fantastic. And we can see that in the bottom left, it's still creating. So Replit is at work. And so while it's still doing its job, Mahmood, another question that came up is if you run into a problem, it's already on its way, it's building, it's creating. What if something goes wrong or we remember something? What do we do if we want to do and make a change, let's say?
Yeah, so that's a great question. We will probably see an instance of that. So I will park that question and come back to it a little bit later and actually demo how that is done. But basically, if it's a visual thing, you would literally take a little snapshot of that issue, paste it in your chat here on the left, and just say, "Can you fix this issue?" It is usually as simple as that. If it is a business logic kind of issue, then yeah, you have to kind of explain what is not working out as you planned, and then ask it to fix it. So we will do that once we see the preview come up. Then if there's any tweaks to make, we will actually demo that as well. Uh, I will just see. Okay, so this is probably worth explaining. So can you see as I hover over this button here, it says stop, right? So one thing you can do, if at any point you feel that it is just going away in a direction that you're unhappy with the system, you can click here and stop it. Even though I wouldn't really recommend it because behind the scenes, even though we cannot see that, but it is building a lot of coding files, right? So to stop it in the middle usually would not be a great idea. So if you have another prompt, so for instance, if at any point you have said, okay, do this, and then you have the next instruction, which you are clear about in your mind, it is usually better to just wait for it to finish building. And this is the indicator, right? When you can see that little purple flashing thing, this shows that there's still stuff going on here, and you have to wait for that to finish before you can continue.
A question that's just coming up is, can we build multiple? So we're building one tool right now for collections. What if we want to build multiple tools, multiple features? Can we sort of build them and then link them?
Yes, you can. So that could be done in a couple of ways. So if these are incremental features on the same application, right? So let's say you do a version 1.0 and your team is happy and they say, yeah, this is great. Why don't we add another facility in the same tool? Then you could literally continue building the same application and add another feature by prompting the next feature in. So that's one way. And then you can have on your kind of dashboard of that application a route to go in feature one or feature two. But if you want to create a suite of applications, right? So there is a finance like this collections application. Let's say you wanted a closing checklist, a month-end closing checklist application, multi-user, where you set up tasks for each of your team members, and they come and do their task and then check it off. You could build that app as well, and then you can create literally a single container app that has links to each of these mini apps from it. So you can then create your finance dashboard if you like that links out into all of these mini apps. So you can take any of those paths as well. So those are all possibilities. Another thing, let me just also point out here is so this is the design that we're building, right? One thing you could have done, which obviously for lack of time we weren't going to do, but one thing that is possible is where you see this paperclip, you can attach documents. We attached a CSV file earlier, right? As you all saw, we could also have attached a design file. So if you have a website that you really like, right, the style of, let's say, I don't know, ClickUp, Monday.com, Basecamp, which is a popular project management tool, or any kind of online famous tool, or even not so famous tool, Notion, whatever, right? Anything that you are very comfortable with in terms of UI, or your team is, and you want to build an app which looks and behaves like that kind of an application, then you can either actually, as a prompt, in your initial prompt, you can say, can you build the app in the style of whatever that other application is, Monday.com, or you can share screenshots, right? So you can attach the screenshots here like earlier, right before we started designing, and you would have shared those screenshots as image files, uh, and then say, okay, can you build the application based on importing from the CSV which I've attached, and also use the design files that I've attached so that the application looks and feels more like something that I'm more familiar with, right? So that option is also there, which can also be a powerful option. The reason why we don't use it that much is because Replit and the other whiteboarding tools, they are coming out with very nice designs usually. And if they're not, then you can just kind of, it is such a small short journey to go from a prompt to something that you can look at. It's literally takes a few minutes, and I think we should be done with this process. You will see that in a couple of minutes anyway. So it is quite easy to just start another project, right? You can just abandon this and start another one if you don't like the look of it. And that's another good reason why starting with the design process really helps, because you can see how this app is going to look like. And if you don't like the look of it, then there's no point in asking Replit to continue and building the database connections, and all the ability to add customers and upload data and all of that. If it's looking ugly, then it needs, then it needs to be fixed. Okay, and the way you would do it is you would just start another project, and it would then you would just give it maybe a design file as an attachment. Okay, as you can see, it's still working. So you need to keep kind of on the lookout on the left. It is still working, and yet it is starting to show stuff that looks interesting. Okay, it is very tempting now at this point to click around, and I will be tempted. Let me do that, right? So I'm going to click on dark mode. And as you can see, I didn't even ask for it, but it gave it to me. Some people have a preference for that, so that option is there. I did ask for a multilingual mode, right? So I am very, very curious to check that out. So let's have a look. Let's see what happens if I click that. Okay. So something happened. So I still have all my kind of labels in English. It's given me, so it's okay. So it has done something. Okay. However, it is not particularly good. So what I would like to see, okay, is I would like to see a left panel, a navigation panel, right? I think that would be useful. I want a navigation panel which is on the left-hand side for English and on the right-hand side for Arabic. And that's some feedback I have. So as you can see, had we clicked that other button and gone away for our lunch and come back, we would have seen an application, perhaps fully functional, that at least to me is not meeting my design requirements, right? I feel more comfortable if I have a control kind of, navigation panel on the left as well, so that wherever I am in the app, I can switch back and forth rather than have to come back to a home page area. So I will actually click on keep iterating on design, which was the button on the left, and I will say that, right? So I will say, can you build a navigation panel on left for English and right for Arabic that allows me to access all features easily wherever I am in the app. Okay. Again, simple English, right? You literally say what is in your mind and you just go. Another thing I will just kind of show here, because I think it's a good point, is they have this option. Recently, they've added this fast option. So if there is a quick change, so if you just want to change like the color of this button to purple, you could use this fast option and it would take action quicker, right? So there probably will not be a need to do that in this webinar, but just so you're aware that this option is also there. And I'm just going to make sure app testing is off because we're going to do it manually. And then I will just give it that instruction. So we are still in design mode. We're still building the design, but I did not like my initial design, right? And this is the time to fix it. This is the time to build whatever you need for it. And let's see what it does with that. The other things we could click around, but it will not, because this is just a design, it will not actually, like if I click on this one, it will not actually generate emails. I could do that, but I would rather just wait for it to create that left and right bar, and we'll have a look there. Similarly, if I log in, the login mechanism is not yet built. This is again just a design. It is just for us to look at, to get comfortable with, and then we take it from there.
Mahmood, just so that everyone is clear, what Mahmood I think is showing is that we have decided to split the app into design and build phase. So Mahmood, could you just sort of repeat that so people can connect with what you said earlier?
Correct. So what happened was at the very beginning, there was an option that do you want to build the application at one go and it will take 20 minutes, or do you want to start with the design first, which will take 5 to 10 minutes? So we chose design first, right? So it's that option which then brings us to this point and asks for confirmation versus the other option, which is why I chose that, and that is what I would recommend people choose as the option. Both lead to the same result. We will end up with a working application both ways, but this usually gives us that option. Okay, so now I have right. Okay, adjust sidebar position for language directionality. Okay, so it's done that, but it has not actually, maybe it did not understand what I was trying to say. It thinks I'm talking about the language, the way it is flowing. I think that's how it is interpreted my instructions. So I did not like that still. And I do want, so we have an option. We can either go ahead or we just stay on this and try and fix it. I will just give it one more go. I would like to give it one more go. So I need fixed navigation panel on the side that has links to each of the screens. Okay, so I will just give that instruction and we will see how that goes. I mean, this will still be functional, so I'm just kind of being a bit very picky in terms of design, because I'm trying to kind of think of this as an application that I like to use, that my team would like to use, and therefore it should actually have that kind of navigation. An interesting thing that you may have already noticed if you use ChatGPT is that if you give it the same prompt, it never gives you exactly the same answer, right? And that is the way AI works. It's non-deterministic. It is not programmatic. It doesn't kind of, it will always go back and come out with something a little bit unique, which can be sometimes good, sometimes it's not good. And I think what we're seeing here is an example of that. So this design is different every time, right? If I built this app before, which I have seen this come out in a different way. Again, acceptable way, good way, but different, right? And I think that's what tends to happen. So let's move forward from here. We will start to build this. Just make sure this is on the right setting. And now I will actually click on build functionality so that we can test out how this thing looks like, right? So now it is actually going to create the power behind each of these links. And the reason why I didn't want to access any of the functionality was because I knew that it wasn't actually built. It will get built now, and then we will do some testing, and then we should be ready to try the features out. So we will see how that goes. Any other questions, Omar?
Yeah, while it's building, is there something called what is called version control or checkpoints? So if you make an error, you can go back to a previous point where things were working.
Yeah, that's a great question. So what you see here, right? It says rollback here where my mouse is moving. This is exactly that point, right? Where and Replit is very good with that. Not all tools give you that. So there are other vibe coding tools out there. Not all of them allow you to roll back, but Replit does. Several others do as well. And if you do that, it's like an undo button, right? It is as if you've said, hang on a minute, no, I didn't quite mean that. Can you just go back one step? And it is a good idea to be aware of it and to use it, because sometimes if you go down the wrong alley, you can go too far, right? And then to try and kind of find your way back, it is much easier to recognize you've gone down the wrong path in terms of an incremental feature and just take a U-turn right away. Just kind of, take a step back through an undo through this rollback feature here. And then again, rethink what you want to ask in terms of so I could have even done that, right? When I asked it to do something in terms of the left pane and it didn't understand what my intent, maybe I didn't express it correctly, I could have done a rollback instead of giving an incremental instruction. So that's always that choice, right? Where you have to decide whether you just want to keep on going forward with additional explanations to the product, to Replit, or whether you want to take a step back, go backwards, and then try again and rephrase yourself. What I could have done, now that I think about it, to make it very clear, is to share a screenshot of what that left pane looks like. So, if I had a picture, as they say, a picture is worth 1,000 words, right? So that really works well with AI as well. All these LLMs, all these tools, Replit, all of them, they can all understand images. They're not just reading text from the images, but they can interpret the meaning behind the images in terms of layouts, which is why I was mentioning you can give screenshots of your favorite applications. So similarly, even if if you are faced with a specific feature and you find that your English or Arabic prompt is not giving you the right thing, then try using a picture, right? Create a picture of what you are looking for. Again, you can do it through these AI tools as well if you don't find something online, and then share that picture here and say that this is what I mean. Can you build the layout to look like this or to be organized in such a way, and so on and so forth.
Great. No, that's great to know. So while it's still, chugging along, what if I need to pause and maybe run an errand or something, or maybe it's time for namaz or something else? Is there can I disturb this thing and just tell it to just, stay still for a while?
Well, you can. So you can stop this process, as I mentioned, but I wouldn't really recommend it. But you can walk away and come back. That's not a problem, right? And also the data persists, the prompts persist. So if you log out, right, if you close your window, log out, and come back later, it will remember where you left it off, right? So in that sense, yeah, you can take a break, you can go away, you can kind of go to bed, wake up tomorrow, and again continue, from where you left off, and it will remember all that stuff. If you had imported test data, because it is building a database behind the scenes, it's going to remember that test data as well. So yeah, it's very seamless in that way. You don't lose your work if if you just close your browser or walk away. So yeah.
And what happens if you give it somewhat ambiguous instructions? How does the system handle that? Does it ask for clarifications or just it just goes along?
It usually doesn't ask for clarification unless you ask it to. So that's another approach, which even in terms of initial kind of build, you can, and that's a more advanced approach where you actually ask ChatGPT to ask you questions, right, for clarifications. And if you do that, then it can force you to fill in gaps where ChatGPT would otherwise fill it, in itself, right, in terms of requirements. So that can be an approach, but by default, out of the box, it doesn't actually ask for clarification. It will just take what you ask it to do at any stage, right, as we've been doing, and it will just interpret your instructions and then just fill in the meaning, itself. So it will then just take that and run with it. So that's the way it would do that. As you can see here, if I can just point out a few things. So this is, even though it's like very geeky stuff, and you can just run your eyes through it, but you don't have to worry about it. But if you're curious, you can kind of see what's going on, which can be educational, right? And it can tell you what kind of things are happening behind the scenes. Some of the things like are very technical. Some things make sense to somebody like me that, okay, customer management import just got built, great. User signing got built, excellent, right? And then create AI written emails with OpenAI. So it just built that. As you can see, this is the stage at which the functionality was getting built. Even though the UI apparent and visible to us earlier, none of these things would have worked because we took that approach of creating a design first, getting that sorted out, and then moving forward. So this is the approach it takes, and and then it gives you all the files which are getting updated. So the other thing is, if I can just show something which is really scary to me, is if you click a little button here, it shows you all these technical files which are getting created, right? So if your IT colleagues come along and they say, this is just a toy and it is useless, you can show them that, look, these are all the technical files getting created, which you can then hand over to them or bring them in so they can start to look at it and help you along with sort of anybody else they need to help them with in securing the application and so on and so forth, which is something we're going to talk about later. But under the hood, all these coding files are getting created in using very modern web development technologies, which your IT colleagues will also understand and appreciate. So the end product that Replit produces is a high quality web application that people take to further kind of extents in terms of integration and so on. I think we are almost done, because usually what I notice is when it talks about creating this file, whatever that is, it is almost at the end. So I think we should be, and it says decided on app completion status. That looks promising. I'm just going to expand that. So when it shows you this little arrow, you can see what's inside it. So all tasks are complete. The app is now fully connected. All this technical stuff. Okay, AI email generation using OpenAI, front end done. And I think we are done, right? And it gives you a little bit of a kind of timer as well. So, it worked for 8 minutes. And if you mouse over, it can even show you how many credits got consumed, right? So you can even keep a tabs on that. Now, at this point, it says, do you want to publish? But, my response would be not so fast, right? Even now, I'm not willing to test it because I would like Replit to test it itself. Now, Replit has this ability, which let me just point out, which I was switching off, app testing. This is a good feature, and I would suggest that people do try it out and use it. It is a new feature they have built, but it does take some time, right? And it does a very, very comprehensive testing, sometimes a bit too much in the sense it is really going out and, doing the browser-based testing on its own. It creates little video clips, but it does take a long time. And for the purpose of this webinar, it is more feasible to do the kind of traditional testing that Replit used to and still does allow, and all the other tools do. So, and how does one do it? You literally, again, just ask it to do that, right? But before that, one quick check I would do is I will switch to plan mode. As you can see, there are two modes here. The plan mode allows you to ask questions. It will be treated as a question. It will not be taken as an action command. And before I start my testing, I want to just make sure that Replit has actually built everything I asked it to build, right? So I'm literally going to ask it that did you build all the features from the original prompt? Okay. And hopefully it did. Okay, looks good. Looks good to me. Okay, right. So we're ready for testing. But just in the interest of time, I'm just going to see if this works anyway. So let's go to the AI email generator. Okay, so get started. Okay, that didn't work. So if I see a problem like that, have no fear. You literally go in there, paste a screenshot, like I mentioned earlier, and you say, please fix this bug. Okay. Okay, and then it goes away and it is looking at this picture. It knows there was this issue. It's trying to fix it, and it's going to bring us back up. Right. Let me try again. So I'm in English mode. Get started. Okay. It's still working, so I'll just give it a second to finish that off. Get started. Nope. That still did not work. That did not work. Can you test the app comprehensively? Okay, so I'm just going to do that. Just make sure it's still here. Okay. So that would have been the wiser thing to do. I think I took that shortcut that I was advising against, is to try the app without comprehensive testing. So we have to try that. We have to make Replit do the testing, and then we come back and we test out the feature. Any other questions in the meantime, Omar, that we have?
Yes, certainly. I think I was just mentioning that this is really good to see, folks, because not everything will work first time, and you are just seeing how you debug using common English language and what you see on the screen and asking Replit to fix this. So what Mahmood, I think, has just triggered is now, Mahmood, is it comprehensive testing of the app by Replit itself?
Correct. So, and again, literally by asking you to do that, and as you can see, it is saying it is fixing session table schema. So, so it's finding stuff that is fixing, and then we should expect that the application should work after that.
Fantastic. So I think just a quick question that came up a little earlier was this looks like something that's for my personal use, but if I want an app that can be accessed by other people, friends, colleagues, is that possible, or is this only for me?
No, these can be multi-user applications, so you can definitely set up users within the application, so they can sign up as well. Based on the roles, which we could have defined more precisely in the initial prompt. But if you define the roles that you want to view-only roles, such as for an auditor, you want, an admin role just with the CFO, and you want, kind of finance manager role. If you define those, then those roles will be created. And then, when people sign up, the admin role will be able to go in and associate those individual users who have signed up to the same application to the various roles, right? So you can then kind of do whoever the CFO person, whoever that person signs in, they will have the access to assign the relevant particular role to the individual email addresses who have also signed up from your team. So that is all possible. Okay, now it says this is all done. So I'm just going to first refresh this, and let me actually open it in a new tab. Okay, let's just try it this way. So what I did was I clicked on a link which allows me to open the app. It is still in dev mode, right? So this is still a temporary development environment, but we should be able to test it in this mode. So I'm going to log in. I could have clicked on get started. Maybe that's what I should have done. Okay, and then I say allow. Okay, and I'm in a dashboard, right? And do you remember I kept insisting on that I need this? So I think what was going on was that it was already going to be built, except it wasn't going to be shown to me until I logged in, which is something I didn't realize at the time. And you will see these kind of things, right? So in a different build, you will see, navigation up front. Sometimes it will come after login, and sometimes it's not so obvious, right? So you have to kind of go with the flow, and then you realize it. So I'm just going to switch to Arabic, and you can see it nicely does that, except this is on the wrong side, but you can easily give a screenshot and ask to fix it with the technique that I showed. But it gives us kind of, all this information here, and it has otherwise managed the positioning well as well, in my opinion. Okay, obviously there would be refinement that has to be done. So one thing we would do is let's import some customers, right? So it's got export. Where is import? That's what I would like to know. Okay, so settings. I don't see an import, right? I don't know if you guys can notice it, but I don't notice an import button. So that, okay, it is a little bit of a hidden thing here. So I will now try and import the customers that I created earlier, and let's see if that works. Okay, I call all my customers A to S just to make them, visible. And as you can see, they've all come in, right? So I did that just in case sometimes there could be test data that Replit creates. So I just wanted my names to be differentiated. So I gave them letters of the alphabet. So as you can see, that the file that we asked it to be able to import, it is seamlessly importing it, right? It was just a struggle to find this. This is not the ideal position. And I think we can just ask it to reposition the import customers button somewhere else. Well, that's easily done. But the functionality worked. Now, if I go to the email generator, I will see all of my customers here. And if I want to create some kind of, okay, let's go with this one, generate an email. Okay, so it's generated a friendly reminder for this particular customer. That's just come up here. I can just copy to clipboard. It gives me the option here. And then I can just take it to my email client and paste it there. If I wanted, an Arabic one, okay, I would just regenerate. I think it just pushed it to the right for formatting purposes. But now if I generate it with Arabic as a chosen language, it comes up with, a nice email here in Arabic, which again, I can take as an initial draft and tweak it. But it certainly will be a big time saver to do that. And these are both in friendly tones, right? If I want to do an urgent tone one, and let's switch back to English now, this will create a more urgent tone based on the severity of the debt from this particular customer. Okay. So this is now, it talks urgent and so on and so forth, right? And if you didn't like it, you could regenerate it. You can just click it again. And behind the scenes, it's using OpenAI to generate, it will can give you another draft, right? So you can just take this draft if you like. You can always tweak it and take it forward. All of these things, these can also be filled in by default. If you ask Replit that, can you always fill in my name or the name of the person logged in, the company, and so on, then all those things can be done as well. Okay, so I think this is the point, Omar, maybe we can kind of take stock of what we built at this point. If I stop my screen share.
Okay.
Okay, so we built an accounts receivable database. We saw all our invoices that we were able to, all the customers we were able to import with their balances. We saw a dashboard. And we saw the ability to create emails, right? And we face hiccups, which is realistic. This is what will happen. You will face hiccups. You will, have confusion about like, why is this not showing up here or there? Let me instruct it. Where is this button? It shouldn't really be here. But hopefully you've learned how to fix those, right? And within the limited time, this is kind of, a fully functional application that can certainly be improved, right? With more time, you can give it more instructions and make it, even more fancy and more fine-tuned to your requirements. And hopefully it would help in faster collections and improve cash flow. But that's not the whole picture. As Omar was also saying, this then leads into stuff that still has to be thought about. So Omar, over to you.
So I think firstly, let's just take a second to recognize this was pure magic. If you have never coded before and this is what you can create, this was unimaginable, folks. And it's taking the world by a storm. So I would say, firstly, for your personal use, absolutely sign up for these companies, start playing around. You saw how easy it is to fix errors by simply asking the machine to fix itself. That's it. You don't need any manual, any word, nothing. right? So absolutely start using this. And what we just built is a personal use app. What is missing now is, how do you take a personal app like this and turn this into an enterprise app? Enterprise app here would be something that you can use in your work environment, literally at work. So this probably won't fly just like this, right? Your IT will not let you use this. So typically, enterprise applications have a lot more robustness around them. So, for example, the the users who can access the app, they have to be pre-approved by IT. Security policies must be adhered to. You cannot just bring any data into your application. Here we use an Excel spreadsheet. That's fine. But what if you wanted to have access to a live system where you maintain your customer receivables? That would need integration, as we call it, and it would need, again, a call to the IT people who will, probably take time. And so you may still run into that problem. But the fact is that you now have a running application as a business user showing them that you need this. And I think the response times can be fairly significant, or in terms of improvement. So you can probably see a lot of help from them. So you are now much more empowered to actually demand things because you have a ready application. All right. So the question then is, you've just seen how to build a personal app. How can Folio3, our company, can help you, go further? So what we've come up with is about, three types of packages that might be able to help you. Firstly, after seeing this, let's say you get really ambitious and charged, and you actually want to go and build something in your organization. Could be finance, could be HR, could be anything else. But you might still need some handholding. You've not had enough time, but you are charged. So you can actually engage us through your company to help you provide what we call complete support for a build. Literally building an application could probably just take one day, literally. And what we would do with you is to put something together that hopefully your enterprise IT, your IT people would be much more agreeable to implementing in the company itself. Alternatively, you could still say, look, this is awesome. I think I need more training, and perhaps I need more people in my organization to learn this. So we have a training program here where we think in two sessions of no more than 90 minutes each, we could be in your company, or we could be online, and we can actually train your colleagues as well and yourself, and actually leave with additional collateral material that would help you take that training and turn that into real applications. And the third package we have is where we combine both, where literally you want us to train and also at the same time build with you. And so we call that the hybrid sort of package. So we are here to assist you to take this forward and literally democratize coding and empower you in your roles. We are a little bit over time right now, and so we probably won't have a lot of time for questions. And we have run through quite a few questions, but Omar, did we see some questions coming in that you would like to take up? Kirwani, any questions?
Thank you. Actually, I didn't find any questions in Arabic. So if anyone have a question, we are here to help you. لو في أي حد يا جماعة محتاج يسأل على أي حاجة بالعربي إحنا موجودين معاك.
All right, fantastic. One question, Mahmoud, that came up was about integrating with ERP and sort of the things we were talking about. So perhaps you could shed some light on that.
Well, so it is definitely possible to integrate these white-coded apps with ERPs because all the ERPs, all the modern ones support REST-based interfaces. So if they can support an API connection using standard kind of connectivity that is now very well understood and common across the internet, then the white coding tools will be able to deal with that, right? So it is possible, but it needs it needs care. It needs a thorough understanding of security, both on the ERP side, what kind of tables are you exposing to the white coded application, and so on. So it is technically definitely possible. You can take your white coded app and take it to the next level, right, by connecting it to an ERP so that you don't have to import customers, for instance, right? I mean, who would want to do that every single day? You want a connectivity that brings it in from your NetSuite or whatever ERP, QuickBooks, and that you have. definitely possible, but it needs a little bit of more mature kind of oversight and technical depth to do that, in my opinion.
Fantastic. And I think what you showed us was that the use of APIs allows you access into other programs. So in this case, I think you connected with OpenAI, but if you had API keys to other applications, you could potentially be integrating into other applications as well, but it needs a little more sophistication. Is that right, Mahmood?
That's correct. So Replit has some built-in support, right, for common endpoints such as OpenAI. So it didn't even ask us for a key, right? It just said, if you want to use it, I will just charge you as part of your kind of regular plan, and that's how it goes. And similarly, it has some other services built in. But if we have uh, an ERP system or something like that which they don't support, then it is definitely possible. However, it would need some extra development.
Right. And I think just one last bit that we saw this publish button. So when you click that, maybe it'll be just good to let people know where this app will appear and how this can be accessed by external parties. What happens when you publish this?
Yeah, right. That's a good question. So basically, when you click publish, it is going to deploy the application, make it live, and Replit has its own cloud, so it will just host it for you as well, right? So you don't need to talk to your IT guys to be able to host it. It will become functional, something you can use right away. But again, it may be sitting as a little island away from your enterprise environment, right? So that's where you would probably at that point want to think through if this is something that is actually solving a key business problem. Is then you go beyond creating a Replit hosted application and you start to think about how you want it integrated within the infrastructure that may be running your ERP in your organization or anything like that.
Fantastic. So folks, I mean, what Mahmoud is also saying is that you will literally have a URL, www your app or something, and you can give that and share it with people, and they would be able to engage with your application. So literally, it is functional. It is functional, but it is sitting outside your application, your company environment, which means you can't really bring any information or perhaps engage with your Outlook and email programs to set up workflows and other things to truly turn this into something what we call an enterprise application. Okay, I think we are a little bit over time, and it's probably a good time to stop this lovely webinar, I think. And I think uh, truly for someone who's been coding, for many years, when I first engaged with Replit, it was eye-opening. Just the ease and the beautiful ways it can simply create fairly complex apps. So there is a learning curve here, but absolutely get started. And we are here to support you, whether you want to build yourself, you want some training, or a combination of these. Please go visit us at the URL that you see below. You will find a recording of this webinar. Share it with people, perhaps move it on your social media accounts as well, so others can benefit. And we really want to thank you again for joining us, and